maxim that in the fog of war, the first casualty is the truth. You've heard it because it tends to be true. It's very hard to know what's really happening in Iraq right now. Of course, it's a country that will always be associated in our minds with bad intelligence. Sometimes reporters and TV producers have to rely on primary sources, photos and videos from people on the ever-shifting front lines. So the vetting process for this material is critical. Many people here at CNN do it every day. We have Arabic speakers who watch videos, translate them, cross-reference them, and sometimes debunk them. In fact, a message went out to the whole newsroom here on Friday, reminding everyone to steer clear of misinformation and mislabeled photos. For help with this, lots of other news organizations depend on a fascinating startup called Storyful. It calls itself a social media news agency. And here's a sign of how important this work is becoming. Last year, Rupert Murdoch acquired Storyful for $25 million. They have been busy there debunking insurgent propaganda from Iraq, and I want you to hear how. So let me bring in David Clinch, executive editor of Storyful. He was previously a senior international editor here at CNN. David, thanks for joining me.
Nice to be here, Brian. Thank you.
Let me put up two photos on screen that are from Twitter this week. Both of these are of Black Hawk helicopters, and the caption you can see on screen, it says, Al-Qaeda militants capture U.S. Black Hawk helicopters in Iraq. Are these images real?
They're real images. They are not Black Hawk helicopters captured by Al-Qaeda or ISIS in Iraq. And this is a vital part of what we do as journalists, and really what all journalists should be doing nowadays. If you're covering a story like Iraq, and you do not have somebody on the ground who is exactly at the point where things are happening, you're going to have to use images that emerge from other sources. But that is not an acceptable excuse or reason for using images that emerge from the web that can be verified or, in this case, debunked. Now, it may very well be that ISIS and other forces captured weapons from the Iraqi army as they advanced. In fact, there's no doubt that they did. But there's significant evidence that, first of all, these particular images are old, and so therefore are not from this particular incident, and also some evidence that these kinds of Black Hawk helicopters were not supplied to the Iraqi army.
I really want to hone in on this issue of where our information about Iraq comes from, because, as you said, there aren't a lot of reporters there. It's very dangerous to be working in Iraq. In fact, a well-known freelance photographer was killed in the fighting in northern Iraq this week. So when we see images, when we see videos, where are they coming from?
Well, there are a number of sources where images can come from. Of course, these activists or extremists put out their own videos. But of course, our motto at Storyful is always trust but verify. In fact, I would go even further than that, is don't trust and verify everything. Because no matter where the content comes from, whether it's the Iraqi government, which has been putting out videos of airstrikes, whether it's these extremists that post videos and circulate images, we've already seen that some of those can be debunked, or whether it's the U.S. military or anybody else, or local freelancers, all of that is content that is worth looking at, and in some cases can play an important part in telling the story.
Tell me what steps you take then to verify or to debunk these images.
Well, that's the important thing, is you look at these images and you make absolutely sure that you look at every aspect of it, not just technically looking at whether the video is old or images are old or whether there's anything in the video itself that may have been manipulated, but does it correspond to other information that you have? There are ways in which you can confirm certain things like geography, weather, whether there's other corroborating evidence.
So geography, for example, does that mean you're looking at Google Maps and trying to cross-reference images that you see from satellites or from the ground?
Right. Absolutely every piece of evidence and every piece of available technology can be applied, as well as, of course, journalism and experience. There's an inherent knowledge in our team at Storyful where somebody can see that an image is circulating of a helicopter being shot down in Ukraine, and immediately we're able to say, well, that helicopter was shot down, but it was Syria last year, and here's the video, and we can show the two images next to each other. So technology, plus journalism, plus expertise and an institutional knowledge.
And I saw the Pentagon this week even came out and warned about this propaganda war. They said that they were seeing images copy and pasted and photoshopped from the militants.
Right, absolutely. This is not a trivial issue. You really do need to dive into these things and make sure that they're real if you're going to use them to tell the story.